Spring Security 7, which is a part of Spring Boot 4, has added support for multi-factor authentication. And in this video, I want to tell you a little bit about what that is and how to get started with it in Spring Security. We'll create a new Spring Boot 4 app, bring in Spring Security, and walk through this entire process. All right. So what is multi-factor authentication? This requires users to provide multiple factors to authenticate, combining something you know, have, or are. You've probably experienced this in your own personal life. Maybe you log into some secure website or some bank and you provide a username and password, and then you also need to provide some type of PIN, right? Because you have access to things like your SMS or email. So the OWASP factor categories are something you know. This would be like a username and password, something you have access to, like your phone or an email, maybe biometrics. So on my MacBook, I use a fingerprint to log into my laptop. Somewhere you are or something you do. Now, the Spring Security approach to this is at authentication time, Spring Security adds factor granted authority to track which factors have been verified. Authorization rules can then require multiple factors before granting access. So I need a factor of password and a factor of OTT. And in fact, that's the example that we'll walk through today. The way that you get started with this is by using the @enable multi-factor authentication annotation. Here we're saying the authorities are, in this case, password authority and OTT authority. Now, this is not limited to 2. You could put as many as you in as you want. You probably don't want to do that. That's going to add a ton of friction for your users to be able to sign into your application. But in this case, we're requiring 2. So we also have our normal security filter chain that we set up. And the way that we set this up is by just adding that annotation here. In this case, we have both a form login and a one-time token login. Down in the right there, I really love this smart redirect. We're going to use the built-in templates from Spring Security. You can override those if you want. But when we go in and log in with the username and password and try to get to the admin section, it's basically going to smart redirect us back to the one-time token login because it realizes that we have multiple factors that we need to authenticate against. Now, if you don't do it at the annotation level, so if you want to put at the annotation level just an empty authorities list, then you can get a little bit more granular with which ones require which factors, or you can really start to customize like timeouts and things like that. So in this case, though, in the security filter chain, I use the authorization manager factories.multifactor, and I'm saying I'm requiring these factors here. Once you do that, in your request matchers, you can say, I'm going to access this, and you can use MFA and say, oh, they have to have both these roles or both of these factors, and they have to have this role. Or in the case of the user one, hey, MFA, but just be authenticated, that's okay. So there's some ways that you can really customize this. I suggest heading over to the docs, which I'll show you in a minute, to get a little bit more information based on that. So here's another example of that. In this one, you have a password in 30 minutes. You're saying the password authority, I'm setting a valid duration of 30 minutes. And then in the second one, I'm setting the valid duration of 1 hour. So again, just a way to go ahead and customize that. Okay, so to get started with this, head over to the Spring Security doc. You can go look at the what's new. So what's new in Spring Security 7, you can find out what's new here. One of the big features here is multi-factor authentication. This is some of the stuff we just went through, but you can go ahead and read through this to learn a little bit more about MFA and some of the things that you can customize if you need to. So we're going to create a new app today. This is going to be Java. We need Spring Boot 4 because that brings in Spring Security 7. So I'm going to say dev.danvega. We'll just call this MFA. I'm using JDK 25. And we're just going to bring in the web support, and we're also going to bring in Spring Security. That is enough to get us started. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and generate this. This will download a zip file. You can open it up in whatever IDE or text editor you're most efficient in. For me, that's going to be IntelliJ. We have what we need. Let's write some code. All right, so let's get started here and build out a simple application with a couple endpoints that we can go ahead and lock down. So I'm going to say this is my home controller. This is going to be a REST controller. In here, we'll have two endpoints, one for home, which displays hello world. The second is admin, which displays admin page, and we want to go ahead and lock this down. So once that's in place, we need to set up a security config. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new class, and we'll say Java class is equal to security config. And in here, I will go ahead and say this is at configuration. I will at enable web security. And if you missed a previous short or a previous video I did, if you don't know, there's a debug true parameter here. So you can go ahead and use this and you can run your application. And it says security debugging is enabled. This may include sensitive information. Do not use this in production. But if we do that and we go ahead and hit an endpoint, so localhost 8080, which is going to be locked down right now, we can go into our console here and you see you get some more debugging information. So you find out what the request looks like and the security filter chain that we went through to determine authentication here. Now I'm going to take this off. Another approach you can take to this, one of my great secrets to debugging Spring security issues, if you go into application.yaml here and set the logging level for org Spring Framework security to trace, and then rerun our application here, we'll see there's our default security password. Now I can go in and make another request and I'll get a lot more information in here telling me about what happened here and the different filters in the security filter chain that it went through, all the way down to what happened, invoking the authorization filter, authorization get error. We were not authorized to access that endpoint. So those are a couple tricks, if you weren't aware of them, of kind of how to debug Spring security issues. I'm going to turn that off for now. We're going to come back to our Spring security config. So I'm going to start with an @bean. We are creating a security filter chain here. We'll call this security filter chain. This is going to take in HTTP security. And what we will do from that is return http.build, and we'll do a little customizing here on the security filter chain. So what I first want to do is go ahead and authorize HTTP requests. From there, we can say authorize, right? And from there, authorize, right? Whoops. And I'll say request matchers. And what we want to do is for home, we want to allow that. So we'll go ahead and say permit all, and then we'll set up another request matchers for our admins. So /admin to whatever one. We only have one endpoint, but that's fine. And we want to make sure that it has a role of admin. So from there, I can go ahead and set up my different factors here. Now, this isn't going to enable multi-factor authentication just yet. I'm just going to provide two ways to do this. So I'll say I have a form login. So we'll say with defaults here. And then let's just keep it at that for now. So I'm going to import, I'm going to import the customizer statically. And so now I have an endpoint where anybody can get to, and then an admin where you need to be an admin. So let's go ahead and test this out. Oh, and we have no users. Let's go ahead and create a couple of users. So I'm going to create a bean here. We'll say user details service. Yes. And we'll create a couple of users here. I'll create one called user.with username. And the user for this will be user, and we'll set a password equal to, and we need to kind of put this in here. Don't do this in production. We are just hard coding the string password in there. Usually you want to use some type of encryption there, like bcrypt, but for this demo, this is fine. So I'm going to say roles. This is going to have a user role. And from there, we can go ahead and build the user. So I'll do something similar for admin. So let's say admin, and then admin password. And this user is going to have a couple different roles. We'll say admin and user. All right, so now what we can do is return a new in-memory user details manager, and we're going to pass in user and admin. So now we have two users in the system, one user, one admin. Let's go ahead and restart this. Okay, everything looks good. Let's hop over to the browser. And if we go to localhost 8080, we can see that that works fine because that is permitting all. We're allowing anyone to get to that. If we come in here and say admin, we're provided with the built-in Spring Security login form. This can be customized, but I can go ahead and type in admin and password, and we can now see the admin page. So far, so good. Everything's working as we would expect it. Okay, so now I'm going to add a one-time token login. So I've done a video on this in the past if you're interested, and this is not going to work right away. So with one-time token login, we just don't, Spring Security can't guess how you're going to deliver this token. Are you delivering it via SMS or email or some other mechanism? So you need to provide a way of doing that. And so I'm going to copy in my one-time token success handler. And the way this works is you implement the one-time token generation success handler and you override the handle method. This will give you access to the request, the response, and the one-time token that the server generates for us. Now, you could just hard code this in here like HTTP localhost 8080/login/OTT token equals, and then one-time token .get token value. But I'm doing a little bit more here so that this magic link will work in any environment. So we're getting the, using the servlet components builder to get from the current context path. So we're building a full URL based on the environment we're in. Here's the path. Here's the token. The token is one-time token.get token value. And then we're just saying toString on that, so we get a string back. Now what we can do is we can go off and we can send this token however we want. You can use email. So in a previous video, I used something like SendGrid to send this off in an email. You can use SMS if you want to send this token off to, say, some phone. You can use some integration like Twilio. Whatever the mechanism for sending this out is, you can go ahead and implement that here. I'm just going to output this to the console so that we see we have it. And then I'm using this redirect handler to go to OTT send, which I don't have yet. So let's go ahead and go back to my home controller and just add an endpoint for that. And all it's going to do is display one-time token sent. So let's see if that works. Let's go ahead and stop and rerun our server. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to admin, and now I'm provided with two forms of logins. Again, we haven't set up multi-factor authentication yet. I can log in with either one. So I'm going to choose admin. So you have to enter either the username or an email address or whatever mechanism you want. Here, I'm just going to put in the username, which is admin, and I'll say send token. And that didn't look like it worked. This did, but we did not see our template there. So I'm going to say that I also want OTT sent in here. Let's go ahead and retry that. So I'm going to go to admin. And again, I'm going to type in admin as the username. And now we're at our endpoint here, OTT sent. Hey, you would customize this. Hey, your one-time token has been sent via whatever it is. Go ahead and check your device and click on the link. So I'm kind of simulating that here. I will go in here and copy this to make sure it comes over here. And then I'll go ahead and paste this in. Again, this is something I would click on into my email and I would be redirected to this template. So just by using one-time token login in our Spring Security filter chain there, we get both the previous template that you saw and this one, which auto-populates the token. Again, both of these can be customized. Check out the Spring Security docs for that. Once I click sign in now, I am signed in passwordless using that one-time token login feature. So far, so good. We've provided two different ways for a user to log in, but what I want to do is make sure that a user is authenticated with both of these mechanisms. right? So the way that we do this is we want to head over to our Spring Security config here, and we want to enable multi-factor authentication. Again, we want to set our authorities. This is from a factor granted authority. The first one is going to be password. So we're saying you need to have a password authority, and then you have a factor granted authority of OTT authority. So now we've set this up that you need both of these authorities to be considered authenticated. And that's really all we have to do here. Let's go ahead and restart our application. I am going to go back over here and go to admin. And now I'm going to log in with my username and password first. So admin and password. And instead of taking me to admin, we have that smart redirect. So now it realized, okay, well, there's two factors here and you've authenticated with one. I'm going to send you to the missing one. You see up here, login factor.type equals OTT and factor.reason is missing. So we're missing this factor to be able to be authenticated. So I'm going to click username is admin. I'm going to click authenticate here. This is going to add that magic link into my console. Again, this would be delivered via SMS or email. I'm going to go ahead and click that. It populates the token. I sign in. And now I have two factors that I've authenticated with, both the username and password and the one-time token. So I'm giving access to this page. Now, one question I got when delivering this to a customer was, okay, I like this, but that long GUID or UUID, whatever that is generated, I don't want that. I want like a 5-digit PIN similar to something like my bank would give me, right? So what happens with one-time token login, there is a one-time token service class. And if we look at one-time token service class, this is an interface, there's a generate method and a consume method. So if you want to customize the one-time token service, you can. Again, take a look at the docs. There are two implementations of this out of the box. By default, we use the in-memory one-time token service. If you want something to persist, you can use the JDBC one-time token service. But if you go ahead and look at this, you can get an example of how to write and customize your own token service. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to come in here and say, I want to create a new Java class. I'm going to say this is a pin one-time token service. And this is going to implement the one-time token service. And then we'll need to do a couple of things. I'm just going to copy and paste some code in. And again, the way I did this was just looking at that in-memory one and say, how can I replicate that for what I'm trying to do? And here we have a pin length of 5. Here's our max pin value. And we go ahead and override that generate and consume. And then we have a way to like generate a pin. So once this is in place, we can go back to our security config. And in our security config, we just want to define a bean so that we are telling Spring, hey, I know you have some one-time token services already, but I'm going to provide my own. And that one-time token service is the pin one-time token service. Maybe this one's a little bit more secure. Another reason you might override the token service is to set a different expiration. So here I'm saying the expiration is 3 minutes. All right, so let's go ahead and restart this. So stop and rerun. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go to admin. And in my one-time token here, I'm going to say admin. And if we look at our console now, you'll see the token is a 5-digit PIN instead of that long UUID. So 8463, let's make sure that this works. So a one-time token has been sent. Here it is. And now I need to authenticate with the other factor. So password. And now I can see my admin template. So there you have it, multi-factor authentication baked right into Spring Security. I know this was a long time coming. I recently interviewed Josh Cummings on the Spring Office Hours podcast, and he told this story about like him and Rob both being on the same page that this was a feature Spring Security really needed to have. And they went through some different iterations of this and really wanted to come up with a nice, elegant solution. And I think they accomplished that goal because this is really easy to get up and running. I really love the like built-in support with some of those templates to say, hey, if one of those factors is authenticated, but not all, let's redirect them back to like the missing one. So I thought that was a really nice touch. And again, everything we've done here today, you can kind of customize your templates, customize a lot of these endpoints. Check out the Spring Security 7 documentation to find out more. I had a lot of fun putting this together. I learned a lot. I hope you did. If you did, you know what to do, friends. Leave me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and as always, happy coding.